I am Daniel Luís, and welcome to Book 101. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years, and today I have my special guest. He is the author of several books, no other than Mr. Luís Magalhães.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Luís. Thank you for your time.
Hello, Daniel. No, thank you. You're
Well,
you're an early bird here, so up so early to record this. Appreciate it.
oh, yes, and welcome back. I miss you on my podcast.
Yeah, I missed being here, but there are only so much books, so yeah. But hey, next month I'm launching a new book, so then maybe I can be here next month as well.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Next month or next week? Next month, yes.
Next month.
Oh,
Next month.
definitely. Okay, so
Next month I will have a new book to talk about.
that'd be awesome. So that's why you're busy, busy, busy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's
Exactly that, and just work stuff. My regular day job. We all have them, so
yes.
they require some attention as well. Family, stuff like that. But yeah, it's nice to have stuff. It's nice to have stuff going on. How are you, sir?
Oh, fabulous like you, mister. So let's talk about your
Rose and the Night.
The Rose and the Night. Oh, I think this is one of a kind.
The Rose and the Night is a short story collection, again set in the same universe as all my books in the lands of Elessia, and it's a reasonable it's not a big book, but it has 6 short stories, and it's about 150 pages long. And these short stories, they introduce many of the characters from the books. They're a bit like prequel short stories. So you'll meet some of the characters from The Daughter of the Ice, you'll meet some of the characters from A Silvery Moon, and you'll meet some of the characters from Flight of the Necromancer and future books. So it's a great way to start your journey in Elessia.
Oh, so how many days a month you wrote this?
Oh, it's been a while. I'm actually not sure because they're short stories, right? So I would write the short story. Initially it was supposed to be for my blog, right? I had the blog, and I had some short stories that wouldn't necessarily become a book. So I started, writing them for a blog, and I posted the first one, right? The first one was called Rite of Passage, and it was the origin story of the hero of the book A Silvery Moon. So, and that was what it was supposed to be. And then, a friend told me, right? She read the story and she said, this is very good. Why are you putting this on your blog instead of writing a few more and just making a book, right? And I'm like, oh, right. I hadn't thought about it, because look, the reality is that by the time I started doing it, I know some people have a lot of success with blogs. I think there are way too many blogs. So the reality is that blogs for writers is something that
Difference.
you have for your fans, right?
Yes.
It's a bit harder. It's easier to get. It's easier to get people to read your stuff if it's as a book on Amazon than if it's just in a blog. So I'm like, okay. So then I kept that first draft there in the blog so that people could see a bit of the process and the inside and etc. But then the next 5 stories, I didn't write them in the blog. I just wrote them by myself, and then at the end I got them together as my friend advised, and I had it professionally edited, and I published it as a book, and that's it. And again, the neat thing about the book is that all of these stories will get you curious, hopefully, for Elessia, and you'll want to read the other books starring these characters.
So the Rose and the Night.
Yeah.
How what behind the title of your anthology?
Yeah, so it's the first story, right? The first story is about two warring kingdoms: the holy kingdom of Lohander, who is the sun god, and the confederacy of the northern city states. And there's this tale in the kingdom of the sun god, that there are three special people, high priestess of the sun god, that are the goddesses, that they have special magical powers. Even though Elessia is a fantasy world, magic is very uncommon. So when someone can use magic, it's a really big deal. It's legendary. Most people in Elessia don't even believe magic exists. So when there are people that know how to use magic, it's a big deal. So that is, there are three roses: the rose of the north, the rose of war, the rose of the south, the rose of love, and the rose of the east, the rose of prophecy. And uh, of the six stories in the book, three of them are about the roses. And the Rose and the Night is the first story, which is about the Rose of War going to conquer a fortress in the north. And then, from the northern side, from the side of the city states, the tale of the brave knights that have to defend against our magical powers. So that's why the Rose and the Night. It's a coming of age story about how the young knight, then young knight Eregar, who then you'll meet again in the Daughter of the Ice, had his best baptism of fire, so to say.
So the Rose and the Night is a prequel of your other books.
Yes, the story is, with one exception. There is one story. There is one story that is far in the future, but yeah, but five of the six stories work as prequels for other books in the series.
Oh, nice. That's a be awesome. So let's talk about what the reader said to your anthology. According to Marty's Need, an interesting introduction to a sword and sorcery series. So, what are the elements that you put in the short story that make the readers interested to read the sequel of the novel?
Yeah, so the elements is, so first of all, people enjoy coming of ages stories, right? But I don't necessarily write them so much in the books. Most of the characters in my books are already somewhat mature, right? That they're either, Eregar is entering his 60s, and Lucius is in his 30s. So my main characters tend to be pretty mature, but this gives a chance, to for the readers to know them a bit younger, to learn about the events, the challenges, the traumas. They shape them into the person they are. And I think that if you can engage someone early on, right, with those early version of the characters, and they know, where they're coming from, then hopefully they leave the story and the book curious, right, about their future, their future adventures. And then, I do the usual thing on, these stories have a pretty solid conclusions. Not every They don't usually end in cliffhangers, except the last one. The last one ends in a bit sort of a cliffhanger. The characters, they're on a quest for prophecy, and then, at the end, when they get the prophecy that they're looking for, it's a bit scary. And then, that feeds into the story of the Daughter of the Ice, right? So that is how I try to push people on to the other books.
Nice, interesting, Mr. Luis. And according to Leslie B., giants, zombies, cat people, and what else? Wow, he's
Yeah,
asking what else, Mr.
a
Luis?
lot of things. Yeah, they're also big, big wolves, right? So that's the big, big wolves, and there's even a vampire somewhere there. So there's plenty of things. There's plenty of things. But look, that's and locations, and I like in building a rich fantasy world. I've talked about this in previous episodes, right? I like the reader to feel a bit like an archaeologist at times. Getting to know the world, not in a big exposition dump, but like little by little, piece by piece, piecing things together, right? So, if you read The Daughter of the Ice, you will see a couple of occasions. It's not a big deal because obviously I want people who pick The Daughter of the Ice to enjoy the book fully without having to read other books in the past, right? But on a couple of occasions, there a title is attributed to Erregar, right? And they don't expand upon it. You just think, oh, that he has several titles, and one of these titles is pretty curious. And if you've read The Rose and the Night before, the title makes sense. If you read The Rose and the Night, before or after The Daughter of the Ice, a light bulb, you'll have that light bulb moment, which is, oh, this is the time where this is why they gave him that title. This makes sense, right? It was in this battle, due to the things that happened in this battle, that he earned that title. So I like to have those little Easter eggs, interconnections between my books. I think that is a very fun way to build a world.
I think so because according to Dr. R, fans of Dungeons and Dragons, of course, The Lord of the Rings, and of course, Game of Thrones will enjoy these epic short stories. So the short stories depict all those movies or novel.
Yeah. So again, the great thing about making a short story collection, right, instead of a book, is that you can change your themes, right, a little bit more, because in order for a book to be good, it needs to be consistent, right? So if you grab, let's say, The Daughter of the Ice, it's a sword and sorcery quest, right, from beginning to end. It follows that genre very faithfully. And if I want to have an epic fantasy book, right, then that's probably another book, right? In case of Lucia's story, A Silvery Moon, that's a bit more like a Dungeon and Dragons action and adventure thing, even though it's set in the same world. So, but when you have a book with several short stories, you can be a bit more playful with it and have a bit more variance. So, you can play with different teams, one team per story, right? So there's definitely a story that's more about battles and things like that, and a bit like Game of Thrones. There's a little story that's a bit more reminiscent of Lord of the Rings, with a bit more folklore, right? And animals that talk, and a short quest for a magic for a magic item, right? And obviously there's, for example, with the one with the cat people, right? For the one with the cat people, I wanted to give it a bit of a mystery solving courtroom drama vibe. So the main character is accused of murdering an important person in the city of the cat people, and then the adventure is the main character and her party figuring out proof to make her innocent, and then going through the trial. So that's why I like short stories, is because you can explore certain concepts that wouldn't necessarily feel in place in a larger, fantasy sword and sorcery novel.
What was the biggest challenge you faced while writing this, The Rose and the Night, or your anthology?
Yeah. So the biggest the biggest challenge, I think, was the timeline. Was actually making sure, right? It was make it was making sure that these stories made sense within the overall Elessia timeline, right? That there was enough time between them and between the books where the characters appear, that and making them different, right? Because it doesn't make sense to have Lucius with 20 years old be the same person as Lucius at 34, right? You grow a lot and you change as a human being over 14 years. So that was a challenge. Same thing with Ergar. Ergar especially is in his early 20s in The Rose and the Night, and then in The Daughter of the Ice he's almost 60. So it's almost 40 years, right, between one and the other. And I had to really think, right, about what that meant. What is the history? I built a whole calendar and a whole timeline with historic events, between one book and the other. So that was, I think, that was the most challenging thing, and that was one of the last things to add at the book. Actually, again, compliments to the chef. It was thanks to my editor, Susan Elliott Gottfried, right? She pushed me to think a bit more about how these all went together in my overall story, in my overall world. So at the end, I added some lines putting the story in context with the main events in my other series, the resurrection of the daughter of the ice, and the darkening of the silvery moon. And before each story, you have a little bit of a timeline saying the date, right? The date, the place, and the year, which is in SR. That's the official calendar years for at least Western Elessia. Is the SR means Sun's Reckoning, because it's dated on the founding of the Holy Kingdom of Lohander, and it always, and along with the date, I put X years before the resurrection of the daughter of the ice, X years before the darkening of the silvery moon. So that was the challenge.
Very well said, Mr. Luis. So before we go on, I want to shout out to the people listening in Tanzania. I got number 45 on Apple
Tanzania.
chart. Tanzania at Rwanda at number 46. 88 in Zambia, 90 in Nigeria. Thank you so much. Of course, in Algeria at number 9, Mongolia at number 14, Libya at number 14, Denmark at number 18, Romania at number 44, Cameroon at number 54, Jordan at 68, United Arab Emirates at 109, Canada at 111, Hong Kong at 142, South Africa at 150, Georgia at 188, and at the last but not the least, my top ranking countries listening to me, Uganda at 222. Thank you so much for supporting this podcast, because this podcast is created to empower writers all over the world, like Mr. Luis Magalhães. So, Mr. Luis, what is the best highlight of the Rose and the Knife anthology?
Yeah, well, I want to say that it's the last story so that people read all the way through, right? That's it.
Yes.
Look, it really is. It really is hard to pick, right? But I try to bookend with the strongest, right? I tried, in my. It's always subjective, and if you give the book to 10 readers, well, to 6 readers, because there are only 6 stories, I bet that each reader will pick a different story, right? I have a lot of love for the middle story in the cat people place, because I love cats. And I love the Rose of the South. uh, and I actually she is going to feature in the book that I'm launching next month. So it's the of all the characters, she is called Aurora, and of all the characters in this book, she is the only one that isn't present in any of my current published works. But that will change next month.
Yes, definitely. According to Amazon, you got 72 global ratings and you got 64% 5 star. Oh, that's amazing. And
I
that
appreciate that.
definitely this is a phenomenal anthology. Mr. Luis, can you please invite our listeners to buy all your books?
Yeah, so obviously, you can find the link to the books in the show notes, right? My name is a little bit hard, but you can just go to www.elessia.net, and you can always search for my books on Amazon. Uh, The Rose and the Night, The Daughter of the Ice, The Rose and the Night. The Rose and the Night is only 99 cents because I use this book mostly as a way for people to learn about the world. And actually, if you don't have 99 cents to spend, that's fine because you can get it for free by signing up to my mailing list. So yeah, I have it for sale because some people just don't like, signing up for mailing lists. But if that's a concern for yours, or if you'd like to get an email from me every week, telling you about, I basically, talk about my writing journey. You can just, go to my website, search for again www.elessia.net, and you can just sign up for my mailing list, and you'll get The Rose and the Night in your inbox absolutely for free. Or it's available on Amazon. I don't I like money, so if you want to send 99 cents my way, I won't complain.
Yes, we love money, people. Let's
Yeah,
support indie authors, especially.
yeah.
And as I said, this podcast is created to empower all the indie authors. You, if you are listening, you are much welcome to approach me and to be my guest. And it's totally free, people. And Mr. Luis, if one of the big five traditional publisher house
Hmm.
will offer you, will you go to them?
Yeah, so it depends, right? It depends because I do like, being independent. I mean, I publish like 3 or 4 books per year. So, that wouldn't happen if I went to a traditional big five publisher, right? Almost certainly. They don't want authors publishing that many. And so I really like part of the self-publishing, journey, right? That said, I do have a goal. My goal is to eventually make this my full-time work, and if being part and if accepting a contract with the big five publisher would get me closer to that goal, then I would seriously consider it.
Before we go on, I'm inviting you to listen to my other podcast, Food 101, on our third season with Chef Alessandro, one of the best executive chef in one of the best restaurant in downtown Toronto. And thank you, people, for giving us the 1 million downloads. Thank you so much. If
Wow.
if you're supporting Food 101, can you please support my Book 101 review, because this is a good cause. Let's empower writers all over the world to produce more books to read. And plus one more, I have a new podcast started this month, Comedy 101 with Mr. Mike Lucas. If Mr. Mike Lucas has no letter K, Mr. Mike Lucas, I have letter C on my last name. We have the same last name but different letters, K and C. And as we said, we are half brother with different mother. So
Nice.
Comedy 101 will empower all comedian all over the world, and we teach you how to laugh and how to entertain people. So please do listen. Comedy 101. Can you give a little bit information about the new book?
Sure. The new book is Blades of the Ice, and it's a prequel to The Daughter of the Ice. There were I wrote it from the fan, based on the fans, the fan, by the fans' wishes, right? Two characters in The Daughter of the Ice, Anna and Erica. They belong to an assassin sisterhood, and the readers told me that they would like to know more about that. That they thought that it would be a cool story, right? To learn more about them, and to learn about their adventures before The Daughter of the Ice. So I wrote that book, right? Because I love my readers, and I'm very responsive. That's another bonus of being on my newsletter, is that you can send me any comments and suggestions, and I'll seriously consider them. Right, that was the inspiration for writing this book. So yeah, next month, Blades of the Ice. I'll be very happy. It's my first book with an all-female cast because it's an assassin sisterhood, so it's only women. It's my first book with an all-female cast. It was super. It was super fun to write, and yeah, can't wait to talk about it next month.
Yes, let's empower women, people, through the book of the upcoming novel of Mr. Luís Magalhães. So, Mr. Luís, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. It's always such a pleasure. I love being in this show. I wish I was faster in writing books so I could come more times.
Yes, you always come back and let's talk about the books that you read or books that you did. And I just said this podcast is for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and I appreciate your work. Thank you so much for doing this for writers and books.
Maricon people, see you soon.